I think I recognize most of you from yesterday. Are there some here who were not here yesterday? Okay. Some, but not too many. Okay, this is good because we're trying to continue the conversation. And as well, we want to make sure there's more time for questions. So I will be as brief as possible. Okay? I want to transition from what Angela was saying by referring to a term she uses inside the article, the title of which is on the board there, which she just mentioned. And in this article, see, when you write something, it's easy to forget it. I never remember what I say. But I teach this article, so I remember. She uses the term the punishment continuum. It's a term designed to help express theoretically the link that she was referring to. Slower. Okay, I'll do it again. Otra vez, sí. Otra vez.
Sí. Otra vez. Otra vez.
It was a term designed to theoretically express the connection between the two forms of violence she mentioned earlier. The interpersonal violence that was often referred to before feminism especially as private, and the kind of other violence, including state violence, that we tend to think of as public. And to link these two by referring to them on a continuum, intimately connected with each other, so that the feminist perspective would need to deal with the whole continuum. ¿La traducción? ¿Está bien? Sí. So the notion of the punishment continuum would help to destabilize the racism inside feminist practices. And at the same time, it would help to disturb the sexism and patriarchy inside anti-racist and anti-violence movements. Does this make sense? Yes? A question? Okay. It's okay? All right. No, not okay? ¿Otra vez? La tema? It helps to explain the significance of connecting in one's mind and in activist struggles and in academic research the two poles of violence, or the two kinds of violence. So to introduce this term, the punishment continuum, was to express the connectedness between interpersonal violence on the one hand and state or other forms of violence on the other hand, including war, police violence, or even other forms of violence that may happen in communities that are more traditionally treated by the judicial system. ¿Es mejor?
Yes.
Okay, so this term we will need to use because it won't allow us to forget the other pole. So if we are focusing for the moment on rape, for example, we remember war. If we are focused on domestic violence, we remember that guards in prison are often abusing prisoners. We think of these things together as equally significant violences that are also structurally connected to each other. And this is very much what was at the heart of the efforts for the conference Angela mentioned, from which we take the title of our seminar today, The Color of Violence. I should also explain, because I was asked a question yesterday after the seminar from a Colombian woman who had spent some time in the United States. And she expressed to me that even though she was not black, in the United States she experienced much racism, and she wanted to understand why we were referring to black issues. And so I think it's important to make it clear that this activism we refer to includes people from many different backgrounds. It is a movement for and of women of color, by which we mean women of many different racialized groups. Not only black women, also with allies who may be white, and with many men, or even gender non-conforming people who are part of this struggle. The term black feminism is now mainly an academic pursuit. It is more a reflection on a history and a tradition of writing, Should I go back? Otra vez? It is more reflection on a history and a tradition of writing, and also acting. And it's a way of explaining and passing on that history. So our identities as black people are significant, but we are connected to a much larger fabric of struggle. This struggle is not only domestic, meaning in terms of the United States, but also international and transnational. I distinguish between international and transnational for a reason that's important in feminist theory, because international often involves the coordination between elites or between state actors and leaders. But transnational more specifically refers to grassroots connections and circuits which may not correspond to the Organization of States. In this transnational context, for example, the institute that I have been working with in California has been interested in a project bringing together specifically women prosecutors in the international courts and tribunals.